News Nation's Ross Coulthart's Q&A. He starts out the episode with talk on the Immaculate Constellation. And there's something that happens around the 5-minute mark I want you guys to listen to. We heard about this with Matthew, I believe his last name was Matthew Bill. He was the one, the whistleblower with Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp. There's something interesting I want you to listen to. And if this is true, this is extremely concerning. You guys stay to the end and I'll give you my thoughts and opinions at the end of the video. Like, subscribe, share with your friends.
G'day and welcome back to Reality Check Q&A, where you get the chance to put the blowtorch on your host, Ross Coulthart. G'day and also hello to Megan Urada, who's going to ask me the questions.
Hey Ross, good day to you. We are actually going to start with something from you this week. You posted on Twitter, whistleblower goes public on Immaculate Constellation, alleges covert U.S. program monitoring UFOs. You were one of the first to talk about Immaculate Constellation. What did we learn here?
Okay, this is a very, very important story. This is a guy called Matthew Brown, who I think at the moment he's working for the State Department, but he was working for the Defense Department when he became aware of a lot of confidential UAP-related files that were on the JWICS server, the confidential servers used for communication inside the defense and intelligence community. And what he discovered formed the basis, he confirms, of the Immaculate Constellation document that was tabled in Congress last year. It's a very, very important fact that Matthew has now gone on the record and admitted his credentials to my friends and colleagues George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell, because there were a lot of people suggesting that Immaculate Constellation, the document, was essentially a hoax, a forgery, and that it didn't amount to much more than a hill of beans. Now we know from Matthew on the record that Immaculate Constellation is, in fact, a special access program code name that was brought in after Lou Elizondo went public in 2017 with the fact of the Pentagon's ATIP UAP UFO investigation program. And boy, some of the stuff that Matthew says is really important. He's essentially describing the worst nightmare, I think, for a country like the United States that prides itself on democratic accountability. There are so many very interesting quotations from Matthew, and there's a couple here that really worry me. One is, it's a parallel reality. The secrecy apparatus is all persuasive. It's not just in the intelligence community governing their world. It's not just the military protecting their operations. It's not protecting diplomats and leaders as they conduct their work, sometimes in very dangerous places. It, and he's referring here to the legacy retrieval and reverse engineering program, it has been allowed to corrupt and infest every aspect of our society to serve the interests and whims of a very elite select few. Amusingly, for those of us at News Nation who broke the Dave Grush story, Dave Grush's name apparently was absolutely verboten. He was a non-person inside the Defense Department. You weren't allowed to raise, he says, Dave Grush's name in any of the chat groups relating to this issue. He raises a lot of concerns here about the unnecessary secrecy attached to the program. He says, the secrecy that has been defended is at the cost of, in my mind, human dignity, freedom, and progress. It is no longer permissible or acceptable, in my mind, to continue this course, to deprive another generation, not just of Americans, but humanity of their birthright, to know who they are, where they came from, and what's with us. We have, as a country, he says, allowed ourselves to be penetrated, co-opted, and corrupted by an internationalist force that serves their interests and views nations, peoples as tools and means to an end. This is really serious stuff. He's basically suggesting that there's a a state outside the United States, a cabal of people, an internationalist cabal, I presume business related, which is essentially protecting the secrecy of the program and doesn't give a hoot for democratic accountability. And I know I'm giving a long run to this, but I think it's really important that we go into some of the detail of what he describes. One of the things that he describes among a lot of the videos that he says he saw on the system, very clear videos of obviously some kind of anomalous object. He can't confirm, of course, that they're non-human, but whoever is operating these craft has highly advanced technology. And there's a moment when he describes an object hovering over the Pacific Ocean at night off the coast of Kamchatka, which is a Russian secret military base. And there are several Russian naval intelligence vessels on the ocean, clearly, apparently waiting for this object to arrive. And there's a still color image obtained presumably by a US submarine or some kind of surveillance device at sea level, which shows a large black triangle floating in the air. Now, the implications of that are actually quite concerning, because if it's something the Russians were waiting for, it implies it might possibly be Russian, which begs the question, have the Russians developed technology ahead of the United States, and is part of the reason for the secrecy surrounding the Immaculate Constellation program and every other aspect of the legacy program is part of the reason for this secrecy, because the US doesn't want to admit what we've been saying here on Reality Check for some time, which is that there is a grave risk that we are being overtaken by our foreign adversary rivals because of the secrecy surrounding this issue. Many scientists in the program have been telling me for some time that the secrecy in this program is confounding advancements that could give America a foreign adversary advantage. And this is the issue. There is a genuine concern in the scientific community in the black world that we are shooting ourselves in the foot. And this is something that President Trump needs to respond to. The big question in my mind is, I'm pretty sure I've actually engaged communications with Matthew Brown previously. I suspect he reached out to me at one stage last year, and we did have preliminary conversations. And I know he was at the time incredibly nervous and trying to wrestle with what he was going to do. At the time, he wasn't going to go public on TV. So it's a big step that he's made this move, and I can only assume it. He's done it for the best of motives. The man is a patriot. He's a good human being. He needs to be protected, as he's revealed in his interview with Chris Sharp for Liberation Times, and also the one with George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell. Actually, Chris took his stuff from George and Jeremy's interview. He's concerned about retaliation.
Right. So you heard what he said around that 5-minute mark or 6-minute mark about that triangle UFO was above those Russian ships. And there is a potential that that could be Russian technology. Now, if that's Russian technology, we're in big trouble, right? I mean, obviously, we don't know what's going on behind the doors of our secret, private, Lockheed Martin manufacturing and whatever they're doing behind closed doors. We don't know that. But we may have something similar. Who knows, But is this even Russian technology, or are we just assuming this is Russian technology? I don't know, but the implication has been put out there. To me, that's freaking scary as hell, right? So I don't know. It is a well-known fact in the UFO community that those triangle UFOs are actually the TR-3B, and that's a case, maybe it's ours, right? I don't know, but why would we be working with the Russians? So it just brings up a lot of questions for sure. And I don't know. And then there was another part that was brought up in the video that we touched on, was about the Mormons, not really the Mormon church, but people in the Mormon religion that are recruited for these top secret programs because of their religion. I found that kind of interesting as well. And Yeah, let me know what you guys think down below. What do you think? Russian technology? If so, what's your thoughts about that? That can't be good, right? It can't be good at all. TR3B, maybe it's ours. But why are we working with the Russians? You guys, leave your comments down below. I want to hear everything you guys have to say about the whole thing when it comes to Russian tech, American tech, TR3B, and your concerns. Even about the Mormons and the Mormon Church and their involvement in the UFO phenomenon. You guys, like, subscribe, share with your friends. Peace out.